You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
So imagine waking up tomorrow morning, right? You grab your coffee and you sit down to join like 1.6 million other people to read the day's most critical tech news.
Yeah, the daily ritual.
Exactly, the daily ritual. But then you click the links and you find out every single page is completely blank.
Just gone.
Yeah, just gone. Welcome to the deep dive. Because today we aren't, opening up dense books or analyzing these 30-page white papers. We are actually hunting ghosts.
I love that. It is it's essentially digital archaeology, really. We are analyzing this landscape where the primary source material has simply vanished into the ether.
Right. And we are looking at a highly unusual stack of sources today for this. Because instead of full articles, we literally just have a collection of 404 error pages.
Ah, yes. The classic digital dead end.
Yeah, the cage you're looking for doesn't exist.
Oh,
Pages. And these are pulled from a massive, highly influential daily tech newsletter. But, even without the full text, these digital fragments tell this incredible story about the collective anxiety and the ambition of the modern tech worker.
They really do.
So our mission today is to look at, the shadows left on the wall, the titles of these missing articles and the overarching context of the newsletter that they belong to.
Because you can learn an enormous amount about a civilization just by looking at the index of a lost library. You don't need the actual books to know what the architects were worried about or, what the engineers were building.
What the investors were dreaming about.
Right, exactly. The table of contents is a diagnostic tool all on its own.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the very first theme that jumps out from these missing links is this dramatic structural shift in how the industry is talking about artificial intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge shift.
I mean, we have titles here like AI-assisted testing, maintaining AI code, AgentMemory, secure coding agents, Gemini DevOps extension, and AWS SRE agent.
What's fascinating here is the evolution of the vocabulary itself. Notice the repeated use of the word agent in those titles.
Yeah, it comes up a lot.
We are moving completely away from the concept of AI as like a passive tool or just a static script. An agent implies autonomy.
Right.
It implies a system that acts on your behalf, navigates a chaotic environment, makes independent decisions, and executes multi-step processes without a human having to hit the enter key at every single juncture.
Looking at these titles, the analogy that comes to mind for me is, well, it's like the IT department.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about it. A few years ago, we treated generative AI like a fancy digital typewriter. You prompt it, it writes a block of code, you paste it into your project.
Right, very transactional.
Exactly. But looking at this list, we are treating it like the entire staff of the building. We have the security guard in secure coding agents.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
We have the quality assurance tester with AI-assisted testing. We even have the site reliability engineer, the person whose literal job is waking up at 3 a.m. to keep the servers from melting down right there in the title, AWS SRE agent.
That analogy holds up structurally, actually, but it also reveals the terrifying scale of what's being built.
Terrifying.
Yeah, because if you hand over site reliability engineering to an autonomous agent, you aren't just asking a chatbot to write a script.
Right. It's way more than that.
An SRE agent has to continuously monitor system logs across global networks. It has to detect anomalies in real time, diagnose whether a spike in traffic is, just a viral marketing campaign, or if it's a distributed denial of service attack.
Oh, wow.
And then it has to automatically spin up new server instances or reroute traffic to mitigate the issue, all without human intervention.
Well, here, hold on. You're talking about handing over root access and structural control to a probabilistic machine learning model. How does that even work practically?
It is incredibly complex.
Because standard large language models are basically amnesiacs, right?
Oh.
They suffer from severe context window limitations. The moment you start a new session, they completely forget everything you just talked about.
Yes, exactly.
So how can an amnesiac manage a global cloud infrastructure?
Well, that is the exact technical wall the industry hit. Which brings us directly back to the title, AgentMemory.
Oh, the memory piece.
Right. An autonomous agent cannot function if it wakes up with no memory every 5 minutes. To act as an SRE, or a secure coding agent, the AI requires a persistent state.
So it needs to remember what it did yesterday.
Exactly. It needs a mechanism to retrieve past interactions, understand the historical context of a specific server cluster, and recall that, hey, A similar anomaly happened 3 weeks ago.
And how do they do that?
Giving an agent memory usually involves integrating complex vector databases where the AI can store and retrieve its own historical context indefinitely.
So we're moving from this stateless prompt response dynamic to a continuous autonomous loop.
Yes, an ongoing relationship.
That completely changes the relationship a human developer has with the software, which I guess explains the title Maintaining AI Code.
Precisely. The industry focus highlighted by these titles isn't just about the magic trick of creating an AI anymore.
Right, the novelty is worn off.
We are now grappling with the incredibly complex reality of governing it. How do you maintain a code base that is actively being written, rewritten, and tested by other autonomous agents?
I mean, that sounds like a logistical nightmare.
You don't just compile an agent and walk away. You have to manage its drift, audit its decision-making pathways, and ensure its memory isn't being corrupted by bad data.
Yeah, if we are handing the keys over to these AI agents to run security and reliability, I have a massive structural concern.
Which is?
And AI doesn't just run on magic, right? It runs on data and computing power. And looking at this second batch of 404 pages we have, it seems I'm not the only one worried about the plumbing keeping this whole autonomous workforce alive.
The underlying infrastructure.
Yes. Here's where it gets really interesting, because in the exact same newsletter, positioned right next to the shiny, futuristic AgentMemory and Gemini DevOps extension, we have an entirely different category of missing articles.
The heavy engineering stuff.
Yeah, we have titles like Data Ingestion at Scale, Cloudflare's Artifacts, and Idempotency in Distributed Systems.
The contrast there is stark, but it is completely logical.
Okay, I have to push back a little on the curation here, though.
Go for it.
Why would a newsletter feature incredibly dense, heavy engineering topics like distributed systems and data ingestion alongside flashy AI startup news?
Because they're connected.
But if I'm an investor or a founder hunting for the next AI wave, my eyes might completely glaze over at the phrase idempotency in distributed systems.
Yeah.
I mean, are these really meant for the same audience, or is the newsletter just, like, throwing everything at the wall?
No, it is absolutely meant for the same audience. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you simply cannot have agent memory or massive autonomous AI models without data ingestion at scale or reliable distributed systems.
You think that tied together?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
For the modern tech worker, the ethereal AI layer and the deep, heavy infrastructure layer are totally interdependent. One does not exist without the other.
Okay, let's test that theory. Break down the dependency for me. An AI model needs data, sure, but what does data ingestion at scale actually mean in this context?
Well, people often think about it wrong.
Because people often talk about data like it's oil flowing through a pipe, which to me feels a bit simplistic.
You're right. The oil pipeline metaphor completely fails because it implies a smooth, uniform substance.
Right.
A much better way to understand data ingestion at scale is to look at a municipal water treatment plant during a massive flood.
Oh, wow. Okay, paint that picture.
An AI agent, say, your AWS SRE agent is like a city's plumbing system. It needs constant, massive flow to make decisions. But the raw data coming from millions of users, servers, and sensors is the flood water.
So it's totally messy.
It is chaotic, it's unstructured, and it's full of debris. Data ingestion at scale isn't just about building wider pipes.
What is it about then?
It's about engineering the filtration plant that sorts out the mud, normalizes the formats, and routes the clean data to the AI model at 1 million gallons a second so the agent doesn't just choke and crash.
Okay, that makes the complexity much more tangible. The AI is only as smart as the ingestion engine feeding it.
Exactly.
But what about idempotency in distributed systems? I mean, that sounds like a concept strictly for back-end database engineers. Why does the broader tech community need to care about idempotency right now?
Because without idempotency, an autonomous agent could accidentally destroy a business in seconds.
Wait, literally destroy?
Yes. In a distributed system, which is essentially a network of computers working together across different physical locations, communication is never perfect.
Right, things go wrong.
Networks flutter, servers time out, packets of data get lost. Idempotency is a mathematical and computer science property, ensuring that if an operation is executed multiple times, the result is exactly the same as if it were executed only once.
Okay, I think I need a concrete example for that. How does a lack of idempotency cause a failure?
Sure. Imagine you click buy on an online checkout, but your Wi-Fi drops for a millisecond.
Happens all the time.
Right. Your browser didn't get the confirmation, so it automatically retries the command. If the payment processing system is not idempotent, That retry just charged your credit card a second time.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
But if the system is idempotent, it recognizes the unique identifier of the transaction, sees it already processed the payment, and safely ignores the retry.
Ah, okay. And if we connect that back to the first set of titles.
You see where this is going.
Yeah. If an AWS SRE agent is autonomously managing a global cloud network and the network stutters, the agent might retry a command to spin up a new cluster of servers.
Exactly.
And if the underlying distributed system isn't idempotent, that agent might accidentally spin up 1,000 redundant server clusters and bankrupt the company in an hour.
Precisely. This raises an important question about the modern skill set. You can't just be an AI person or an infrastructure person anymore.
The two worlds have collided.
The juxtaposition of these 404 pages proves it. To understand why a new AI tool matters, or why an agent behaves the way it does, you have to understand the massive data centers, the ingestion pipelines, and the distributed networking rules that make it physically possible.
So the newsletter curation is deliberately forcing the audience to look at both the penthouse and the foundation.
That's exactly what it's doing.
And clearly, an enormous number of people are trying to learn how to pour that foundation. Which actually brings us to the meta context of our sources today.
The overarching wrapper.
Right. We've mapped out the technical themes, the autonomous agents, and the distributed systems, but we need to look at the wrapper holding all these missing links together. The community.
The boilerplate text that appears on every single page.
Yes. Let's read the exact text that frames these 404 errors. It says, get the most interesting stories in startups, tech, and programming delivered in a free daily email.
Pretty standard pitch.
But right below that is the staggering social proof. It says, join 1,600,000 readers for one daily email.
1.6 million people. That is the population of a major metropolitan city, all opting into the exact same daily curriculum.
So what does this all mean? The irony here is thick. You have 1.6 million professionals, all waking up and opening their inboxes to stay on the absolute cutting edge of human innovation, only to occasionally click a link and hit a digital brick wall, a 404 error.
It's quite the paradox.
For you, the listener, I'm sure you've felt that exact frustration. You're trying to keep up with an industry that moves faster than the internet can even archive it. You reach out to grasp the knowledge, and the page is simply gone.
That feeling of reaching for information and finding a void is, it's really the defining emotional state of the modern knowledge worker.
Oh, for sure.
The sheer volume of information being generated every single day is paralyzing.
Especially in tech.
The speed of AI development alone, where entirely new architectures for agent memory or secure coding just drop weekly, means the human brain is simply not equipped to process the landscape. We suffer from severe chronic information overload.
Which is why a newsletter with 1.6 million readers isn't just a publication. It's a filter.
It's a survival mechanism.
Right.
We outsource our attention to a curator because we physically cannot read the entire internet. For those readers, this daily email acts as a psychological pacifier for their professional anxiety. It provides a bounded universe.
But wait, a pacifier implies they aren't actually deriving substance from it, just comfort. Are you saying these 1.6 million people aren't even reading the articles? They just like getting the email?
Well, let's look at the behavior. When you open that email, you are participating in a shared zeitgeist. You scan the titles, AWS SRE agent, data ingestion at scale, idempotency in distributed systems.
Just reading the headlines?
Even if you don't click and read every single dense engineering breakdown, you have absorbed the map. You know what the territory looks like today.
You know the buzzwords.
You know what your peers are looking at. The ritual of receiving the daily email is how millions of people manage their fear of missing out and convince themselves they remain relevant in a landscape that threatens to render their specific technical skills obsolete every 6 months.
Wow. That reframes the 404 error entirely. It's less about the specific missing article and more about the shared experience of the digital dead end.
Exactly.
A specific page might be broken, but the map itself, the list of titles, still points you in the right direction.
The 404 page is just a reminder that the map is constantly being redrawn. It is a brilliant sociological phenomenon hidden right there in the boilerplate text. The medium really is the message.
It is. And as we pull all these threads together, I am marveling at how much insight we managed to extract from a stack of broken links.
It's incredible, isn't it?
By acting as digital archaeologists, we mapped an industry that is currently balancing on a razor's edge.
A structural tension between the autonomous future and the heavy physical reality of the present.
Precisely. On one side, We see the rapid evolution of autonomous AI agent systems, moving past simple text generation to require persistent memory, complex testing environments, and the ability to autonomously govern site reliability.
The flashy penthouse.
And on the other side, we see the absolute non-negotiable need for deep infrastructure, the massive data injection plans, and the strict rules of idempotency required to prevent those autonomous agents from just tearing the system
Your
apart.
foundation.
Right, and holding that entire technical tension together is the collective anxiety and insatiable curiosity of 1.6 million readers, all relying on a single daily email to help them navigate the chaos.
Which reinforces a crucial lesson for anyone trying to survive in this environment. Knowledge is most valuable when you step back to look at the structural shifts, rather than getting bogged down in the missing details of a single page.
Because the pages will disappear.
Right. Individual software tools, specific AI models, and individual articles will inevitably disappear or become obsolete. But the underlying patterns, the shift toward agentic autonomy and the scaling of distributed pipelines, those are the foundational changes you must understand.
Which brings us right back to our listener. When the landscape is murky, when the pages are missing and the information's moving too fast to track, you have to look deeper.
You have to.
So I want to leave you with a final tomorrow throwing a 404 error in your face. Perhaps memorizing the specific tools and frameworks doesn't matter nearly as much as your fundamental habit of learning.
That's a great point.
Ask yourself, are you burning your energy trying to memorize the fleeting daily headlines of your industry, desperately trying to catch every single new AI tool? Or are you taking the time to build your own mental architecture, your own internal capacity for data ingestion at scale, so that you can filter the noise, spot the patterns, and adapt your skills no matter what tomorrow's daily email brings?
That is the true challenge for the modern learner.
Keep building that mental architecture. Keep looking for the underlying patterns, and we will see you in the next deep dive.
Spoken Tech, for your ears.